Hey fly tyers, Darren here back with another fly tying video. Today we're going to take a break from the fly tying tutorials and I'm going to show you a few of the fly tying hacks or tips that I've been employing at my own bench. So these might not be applicable to everybody who ties flies, but if you do a fair amount, these might come in handy. So let's take a look at these 10 tips, and perhaps one or two of these will be something that you can use yourself on your own fly tying bench. Started using these Eyehole screws a couple of years ago, just putting them in the front wood of the desk. It's a perfect place for scissors. I use a couple magnets to hold my whip finishing tool, and then it's perfect for some of the hanked materials like the Flashabou that I use quite often. After I put a nice coat of head cement on my flies, I like to give them a little bit of time to dry and like to put them in a spot where I'm not going to be hitting them. So I put on these different springs set with eye-hole screws, and these are great for some of the larger flies that I tie. I got the idea from a lamp that I have on my desk, which I use for the same purpose. The eye-hole screws also come in handy for hanging different clip materials. If you've ever been tying a fly and put a little bit too much pressure on the thread, you might have found yourself in a situation where you needed to quickly repair your thread. You had to rethread your bobbin and make sure at the same time that your fly doesn't become unraveled. This is an easy fix. First of all, just take a hackle plier and put it onto the broken end of the thread on the fly. This will make sure that you keep a little bit of tension on the fly and that it doesn't unravel. Next, take your bobbin and your thread and simply take a dental floss threader and stick it into the bottom end of the bobbin holder. Make sure that you have your thread inserted into the loop and then simply pull through and your bobbin will be threaded. Now simply just wrap over the broken area, trim both ends of the butt ends, and you're good to go. It's important to make sure that you finish off your flies with a nice coat of head cement. But sometimes you get a little bit over anxious with the cement and some of it ends up in the eye of the hook. So a quick fix for that is just to make sure that you have a waste feather on hand, that you've sort of stripped away the bottom plumes. You just simply stick that through the eye hole and soak up all the excess cement. I prefer this over using tippet or a tool because all of the excess glue gets soaked up into the fibers of the feather. A while back, I started buying the Dr. Slick Eco Scissors and started painting the handles. I found this comes in handy for a couple of reasons. First, the color of the handle helps me pick it out of the mess that is usually on my desk. And secondly, as you can see here, they get some rather unique wear patterns, so I can tell kind of how old my scissors are just by how much wear it has on the painted surface. So this is important for me because I do go through quite a few pairs of scissors in a year. I probably go through 1 or 2 pairs a month just based on the amount of fly tying that I do. So when I'm tying, I want to make sure that I've got the sharpest scissors available. So to paint these, all I do is go down to your neighborhood drugstore and find a couple different colors of nail polish. You can get like a gel type or some type of enamel. It works fairly well. You just have to make sure that you put on a decent coat and make sure that you don't miss any spots. You can sometimes, if you need to, put on a second coat just to make sure that you get it a little bit fuller, but it also kind of gives your scissors a unique look, so you're not going to lose them among other fly tires as well if you do a lot of shows and that type of thing. Just make sure that you hang your scissors up in a spot where they're not going to get touched, and give them a few hours to cure before you use them. The last thing I want to do is get too much glue on the head of a fly. So one thing I've done over the past years, because I use a lot of Sally Hansen's, is I like to shape the brushes. The brushes are actually pretty broad when you buy them, so what I do is just clean the brush with a little bit of acetone, and then I'll slowly shape the brush, just cutting off a few bristles at a time, and I'll just hone that down into a point, and once that's done, you get a nice accurate application of glue. I like to use a couple neodymium magnets on my vise. If you've got a couple metallic surfaces, you can stick one or two of the magnets onto your vise, and that just helps you organize things, lets you keep a hook there. Sometimes when I'm tying articulated flies, I'll stick the articulated hook on the magnet. You can put your scissors on there, or you can put different materials such as bead chain eyes there, just to keep them in place until they're needed. Something else I've done to my vise, this is my production vise that I tie most of my flies on. As you can see, I've added this clip. This is simply a little wire clip, alligator clip, and I've just used a screw on my material clip to add that. So I can either open the jaws of that to hold different materials that I'm using. I sometimes like to have them close at hand. And it's come in useful quite a few times. You might also notice that I've got a little mark on my vise here. This is just a mark that I use to help with consistency. When I'm tying a certain pattern, I know that this mark is where I need to bring my flash back to, just so that my flies are always the same length, same size. Just helps with that consistency. I use quite a bit of Flashabou in my fly patterns, and one thing I've always found is that it's hard to get into just the way that the package is made. So what I've started doing is just actually taking my scissors and slitting one side of the package just so that it opens up. Still get an intact package, but whenever you need a few strands, you can just pull open the package, pull them out, and cut them. And that also helps them not get too tangled when you have them stored in a bin. Here's something I use to store my hackle. I've pre-measured this, so I have size 16, 14, 12s, and 10. As you can see, I mix the colors and just try and lay the hackles in so that all the stems are going the same direction so that they're easy to pull out. If you put them in the wrong direction, they'll be difficult to pull out, and you'll probably get a few other hackles when you go to retrieve the one that you're looking for. This just is a quick way for me to find a saddle hackle that I'm looking for a dry fly. And of course, this closes up, and I can keep one box for my medium sizes, one for smaller sizes, and one for larger. I hope you enjoyed these tips, and I hope that you're able to get one or two useful items out of it. I'd like to do more of these videos in the future, so if you have any tips that you'd like to share with the community, I'd love you to leave them down in the comments below. If I use them in the next video, I'll make sure to give you a shout out. Thanks for stopping by my fly tying channel and watching my tutorials. If you're new here and like this sort of thing, why not hit that subscribe button? I'd love to hear from you, so if you have anything to say, leave it in the comments below. Until next time, this is Darren saying, keep a hook in your vise. Cheers.